Hi everyone. Happy December. Yeah, it's been a while. Like a good 7 months since I've posted another video. It's been a little crazy. Been getting a few jobs here and there, so I had to take it up, because everybody needs money. This episode is extremely late to the Bruno party. But I did take the effort to film it, so I'm gonna use the footage. Sorry. If you are completely burnt out with the movie Encanto, I understand if you're gonna skip this video, but I made a little prop for Kayla's Mirabel costume because I thought it was very important for her to have the bag. A lot of people really don't consider the bag important to Maribel's look. However, I do, because props for characters in movies are a part of who they are. And doing research of this bag, it turns out that there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. And I think it's really important to point out those aspects of Mirabel's bag. From the information I acquired on the internet, Mirabel's bag is what's called, and sorry if I pronounce this wrong, I'm doing my best, it's called a Arhuaca Mochila. These bags are traditionally made by the Arhuaco people in the region of Santa Nevada de Marta. They are also made by the Wayuu tribe of the Guajira Peninsula. I probably butchered that. One bit of information that I found out in my research, and I think it's pretty significant since it was used in the movie, is that the Mochila bag has a very long, rich history in the traditions of these peoples, and in recent years has been made officially a symbol of the Colombian culture. Now, Mirabel's bag in the movie Encanto is made a little differently than the traditional way. Traditionally, the patterns and designs are woven into the bag as it's being made. Mirabel's seems to be more of a fabric and then the yarn embroidery over that, and I think that they probably did that to tie it in to her dress, which she obviously embroidered herself using little whimsical patterns. So that's what I did. I found a fabric and a texture that's sort of similar to what's in the movie. Definitely not accurate. I was limited to just images that I found on the internet because this was before the movie was available on DVD. So my resources were limited, but I think it turned out pretty good. And I will be putting some links in my description to give a better idea of what the bags are supposed to look like, and also some sites that I found the history of the bag. And again, if you're completely over the whole Encanto thing, I totally understand that you're going to skip this video. It's okay, I don't take it personal. But I will be doing my best to put out more videos in the future, mostly probably ranging around 3 to 4 weeks at a time, because some of these projects are just too big to put out every week. But I hope you stick around, or I hope you join and subscribe. I'd love for you to visit and see what we're up to. And let's get to the video. Thanks for listening. The pattern for this bag was fairly simple. One rectangle and one circle. The top will have a 1-inch fold for the ribbon closure. I marked the side seams and the bottom seam with a very loose stitch. In the center of these stitch marks is where I will put the embroidery. I needed a variety of colors and was fortunate to find a spool that had most of the colors needed. I made the bag proportionate to Kayla using images I can find, and the finished bag ended up being 6 inches in both the height and width. If I were to make this again, I probably would have made it a little larger, maybe adding 2 inches to both the height and width. Mapping out the embroidery was a little bit of a pain, since none of the markers I normally use gave me a clear image. The markings may be showing up on film, but in real life, they were a little more difficult to see. I've never done embroidery with yarns before, so I really had no idea what I was doing. But luckily Mirabel's bag is whimsical and perfectly imperfect, so I didn't really bother with proper technique for this particular project. In the end, Kayla loved how it turned out, so that's really all that matters. I did do my best to match the direction of the yarn stitches with images that I could find. The technique I mostly used throughout the project were a back stitch and a satin stitch. Adjusting the proportions of the embroidery was a bit tricky because of the small size of the bag base. Because of the thickness of the yarn, there were some areas where the butterflies and flowers did not have the same amount of space between them as in the animated version. If I were to make another one in this size, I would choose a different gauge of yarn so I could keep the detail and spread out the different parts. For this part, from the images I found, it looked like the yarn was laid down on the fabric and then tacked on by matching yarn. So that's what I did. When I was close to the side seam of the bag, I sewed them together and continued the embroidery over the seam. And finally done with the embroidery part of the bag, I sewed the circle bottom to it. And took out the stitches that marked the border of the embroidery. I then embroidered a 2-inch strip of matching fabric for the strap of the bag and put zigzag stitches in all of the yarn colors. I sewed a plain backing to the embroidery strip and turned it right side out. And ironed it flat. In the movie, you really don't see the inside of the bag clearly, so I took a little artistic license and used a butterfly printed cotton. After ironing the lining, I hand stitched both the lining and the straps on. With the strap, I used a whip stitch, and with the lining, I used a ladder stitch. And with that, I was done. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.
Subscribe!
Oh, jeez, I can't pronounce. Of Guajira Peninsula? Peninsula. Peninsula. Ugh. I'm gonna start a little bit. Maybe. Yeah.